Hello, team, and welcome. Oh, look, we've changed position. Hello, team. Welcome to another episode of the award-winning, can you believe it? 40 Runs podcast. And this is our Becoming a Better Runner episode. We try and do these on the last Friday of every month, unless something else better comes along, where we actually focus a little bit more on, let's say, the coaching side of things. Try and dial in some of that help and tips and things that we can sort of put onto you. I don't know. My colleague Hayden's here over there because we swapped position. We just recorded one and somehow we've moved positions, but who cares? You all right, bruv?
I'm all good. You?
Yeah, I'm ready and raring to go. So this episode, I wanted to talk about what to do after marathon. Now, I appreciate this is going to come a few weeks after. Maybe I'll bring it forward. I don't know. In terms of, maybe we'll put this one out a bit earlier. But it's because, marathon season's finished. People are definitely hunting around for what to do sort of after the marathon, because it's a bit of a minefield. There's a lot of misinformation out there, as you'd expect. Just wanted to touch on that. Really, we've got some questions as well from you guys, again related around to this sort of marathon recovery sort of stuff. So I thought it's best just to really crack on, just to give you some insight, just so you know we're not just some twats on here that know nothing. I'm a qualified athletics and running coach, I specialize in endurance, coach a lot of clients one-to-one and clients around the world, okay? If you're interested in coaching, drop me a line, hello@fordyruns.com. Hayden's a qualified run leader as well, okay? So this is not just a couple of helmets who don't know what they're talking about. It's true, don't it? It's important to know, because honestly, there's a lot of BS out there, and even the other day there's a guy. I've got a training plan from a PT, my physio for a sub 3:30 marathon. It's my first marathon, and I've got a training plan from the physio. So firstly, where did you get 3:30 from, on the basis that you've never run a marathon, and the physio's giving you a marathon training plan? Okay, physios know what they're doing in terms of some respects, but anyway. So it just tells you that there's a lot of shit out there, basically. So anyway, that's not what we're here for. We're here to try and help. And if you've got questions or got a subject that you want us to pick up on this monthly kind of show that we do, drop us an email, hello@fordyruns.com. Okay, so I think let's crash through this. So what to do after marathon? One of the ways I thought I'd structure it, Hayden, if it's all right with you, is basically go. I appreciate we're probably past that now, but people who may listen back to this, is week 1 to 4. So start with week 1. Then go week 4. And if there's anything as we go through it, jump in. Because obviously Hayden's run a hell of a lot of marathons. He's a 6-star world major finisher, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of experience here, right? Does that make sense? Start there?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
So we've all finished our marathon, whatever it was, and well done for completing it. You've all probably signed up for another one. But in week 1, your priority, and this is actually for everybody, it might sound a bit weird, but actually you go now into a new training plan, but your training plan is called a recovery training plan. And this is where I think it gets lost, because you come out and this is where the blues and all this motivation and all this sort of stuff, people get sidetracked. But what I want you to think about is when you finish that marathon, you recover. And that recovery process is actually a training plan in itself. Now that can be 4 weeks, 12 weeks. It depends. It depends on what your long-term goals are, what you did in the marathon, all that sort of stuff. But long story short, you're actually, believe it or not, into a new training plan. But this training plan is all about recovery. Okay. What you do in this training plan will impact what you do down the road, but you're not going to be gaining anything in the first few weeks. You're going to be recovering. And it's really important that you recover and you let all that training that you did before get absorbed. Okay. This is the most important part here in the first, let's say, 4 weeks. Week 1 is all about the recovery. Like I said, walking, hydration, eating well, sleeping, all that sort of stuff. I advise my clients no running, zero. I think, Hayden, you're somebody who does the same as that, and you don't do any running.
No, I've always left it. I usually leave it to the Saturday when I do my first sort of park run.
And that makes sense. That's usually a thing for me as well. I didn't this time because I went fishing, but usually I would do the same. I'd probably pick up a park run again. It'd be a super easy job.
To be fair, these questions you got, that is the most asked. We've been asked that, I think 3 times you've had that asked. That's the very first question everyone always asks. When should I run again after a marathon? It's the most popular sort of question people want to know.
Okay. Well, we've answered that one. The easiest thing to do is take a week off. Yeah. And if you're going to run the Saturday or the Sunday, park run, 5K. The easiest 5K you could do. Probably feel harder than that, but just move your legs. But really, you should have been in week 1, walking it off, as I said, eating, sleeping, looking after yourself, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I think week one's pretty self-explanatory, if I'm honest. You do see some helmets going out there and going for a run and doing 82 miles, because I'm a hero. Really, the most sensible people out there taking a week off. Week 2. Week 2 is an interesting one because I think week 2 is very much you've got to take how you're feeling into account. Again, our priority now, we're in a recovery training plan. So are you still feeling that marathon? Yeah. You can ease back into that routine with some short, easy runs, maybe some light strength work. We're recording this and I'm in week 2 and I'm putting in some light strength work. So light strength work for me is basically more reps, hardly any weight, but I'm just doing movements. And it's forming that routine for what will be to come when I go back into, when I come out of recovery, let's call it. So I think that's the sort of stuff. But whatever you do, avoid any hard sessions. Like, heel repeats, no. Anything over 8 miles really is pointless because you're still recovering, yeah? You've just torn the living what's it out of your muscles. You're still, your organs are still recovering from the stress that you just put it over for 26.2 miles. Don't be under any illusion how much that took its toll on you. And I appreciate you're a superhuman person, right? Honestly, it's a big ask to run a marathon. It's a big, big ask. You can't underestimate the sort of the stresses and stuff. And also, actually, it's worth mentioning that in those you're high risk of injuring yourself as well in these first few weeks. If you ain't smart, it's an easy way. Like I'm someone who did it. I tore my calf muscle. I was coaching, funny enough, 1-to-1. I was showing them something. I tore my calf muscle from a movement. You've got to respect what you've done. Yeah. So that's what you got to remember.
So you say no hill sessions, things like that makes complete sense. We're in week 2. What about, we've had people ask about, what about doing any sort of like different workout, speed workout, interval, that sort of thing?
No. I would stay away from them. What I was about to say is, I thought you was going with that, is cross training.
Right.
Swimming. Lovely. Ship that bad boy in. Some yoga. That sort of stuff. Even get on the bike. You know what I mean? Although biking. I tell you what really annoys me is people who get on the train with bikes and they take out all NS. But yeah, anything like that, cross training. Look for stuff like that. Low impact cross training is where
this is week. You're talking week 2 here.
Yeah, like work, like swimming is like the best thing you could ever do for a runner. To be honest with you, the swimming is just like the world's best thing for runners. So yeah, get yourself in the pool and things like that. You could do some light work on a bike, that sort of stuff, getting your legs moving, that sort of stuff. But you're not like tearing them up again. You're still respecting what you've done. You're getting movement through again with some of that light jog work that you're putting back in, some of that routine. So maybe somebody who's running, I don't know, 5 times a week. But maybe you do like 2 or 3 runs, light gym session, and then a pool session that week. Yeah. So you're getting back to movement. None of it's strong. None of it's like intense. But you're starting to get you're dusting off the old cobwebs kind of thing. But you're respecting still that you did the marathon. Yeah, that right? Makes sense?
Absolutely.
Week 3 is that sort of checking in. Do my legs now feel normal-ish? That's the point in which you can make the call to add maybe one moderate workout in and maybe a slightly longer run. So that would be, I don't know, 20-minute tempo, like with a 5-minute warm-up, 5-minute cool down. It's a 30-minute session, but a bit of tempo pace in there. Or even just you could go out and do like 30 minutes of marathon pace maybe. So like a moderate workout, something that you wouldn't necessarily think feel that in my legs on the next day. Do you know what I mean? That's the sort of thing. The longer run could extend maybe out to that sort of 10 miles, 12 miles, 30 miles. Again, it's all depending on what your previous experience is and all that sort of stuff. But overall, you're still keeping that training lighter than before the marathon. Yeah, cross training still do. Strength, you may be starting to pick it up a little bit. What you don't want to be doing is getting like major DOMs the next day, going to that point of, what's it called? Oh, when they say basically the breaking point in strength, where you're really trying to gain that muscle. You don't want to be hitting that yet. You're still, it's 3 weeks, but you're still, believe it or not, recovering. And that's my point about the recovery plan. What you're doing now is you're not gaining anything, but you're starting to come back you come back to life, effectively. you bring yourself back in, but you're doing it slowly, and that's the key to this. Yeah, again, you're absorbing that training, and that's the most important thing from what you've done. But you're respecting what it is. Do you do like because this again, we'll come on to questions, but like I always see, like, and I do it myself sometimes, you pick a race up, like maybe, and we'll come on to it, like 4 weeks after after marathon or something like, or do you look a little bit earlier than that to go and try and see what that fitness has given you?
I don't intentionally do it. As you said, on week 1, end of week 1, that park run, I don't go intense. I go out, look, I'll just run. I don't think about what pace I'm going to do, but 9 out of 10 times it's usually quicker than I'd expect it to be.
Without trying.
Yeah, without trying, you're in good shape. But no, I don't. I think throughout the year, because like yourself, we do a lot of races and quite run. You've almost got your whole year planned out of races nearly in advance. So I'm not particularly specifically targeting one race 3 weeks after just to help my recovery process. No, but okay. It makes sense to. I totally get the theory behind that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I would say if you had like a half marathon 3 or 4 weeks out, I'd be a bit ginger about that. I'd take that. Like, we've got Hackney, right? We ain't going there to blow the doors off. I've got Southend a couple of weeks after that. That's probably the sweet spot, which is, I might be wrong, like 6 to 8 weeks after the marathon, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
that's the one I would target if I could be asked. But that's the one I would target rather than the Hackney one. The Hackney, I'll go there and I'll enjoy it, and I'd appreciate the fact that I'm back running the half marathon after completing the marathon training block. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way I would view it. Week 4 is, I think, where most runners, you can start thinking about building towards maybe another race. That's where you can start thinking about the consistency of your mileage. You could, if you wanted to, take a bit of an off-season reset. I think that's not a bad shout, and focus in on some of that strength work and things like that. And so, and what I mean by that is like, go, you know what, I normally run 30 miles a week, right? But actually, I'm going to be doing 20 to 25 miles because I'm actually going to be doing the gym 3 times a week, or I'm doing the gym 3 times and then I'm adding some swimming in, or whatever it is. I don't know, but like literally step out of that running. So, you've got your other race, whatever it is, the other goal, but you're actually coming out of it, and maybe coming out of it a week 4 is not a bad shout because you've done that recovery side of things. This is what I'm talking about. You brought yourself back to life. You've recovered your body from what you've been doing. And it's almost like a taper after the distance, if that makes any sense. So you're bringing yourself back down, but you're now bringing yourself back up again. Yeah. And by doing that, you're then getting yourself in a state in which you can then go, right, I'm now going to go and do this. Now, again, a lot of people, and that's not a bad thing, they do have like a mid-season or an off-season reset, which I think is a really good thing to do. You see, I see it with a lot of guys, they go off and do a lot of biking in the summer, or they'll go off and do shit ton of like swimming or whatever they're into. Do you know what I mean? It's like, right, I'll come back to running. They're maintaining their aerobic fitness, they're still running, 3-4 times a week, whatever it is, but their average volume drops over that period of time because they're focusing on that cross training and doing some other stuff. As I said, maybe they're in the gym 3-4 times a week, whatever it is, before they come back into getting ready to go into another plan. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And I think that's very powerful to do that. But I wouldn't necessarily think about doing that reset until you're clear of week 4, because you've put yourself back together again in a way. But you've done it slowly. I think that's the biggest mistake people make, runners make. And that's my job as a coach, to guide them through that, is coming back too hard too soon. It's classic. It is classic. I mean, I've told runners off. I've told them to do nothing, and I see 6 miles on, and then or 8 miles, and what are you doing? Oh yeah, I thought it'd be. No, I've told you not to do anything. That means don't do anything. I'm doing it for your own good. Yeah, runners, we want to go out and run. I appreciate that, but you've got to respect 100% what you've done. Your body's still recovering under the surface for weeks. It's a big thing to run a marathon. Don't underestimate it.
How many of the runners that you just alluded to about you see them go out running, and you said a minute ago that we're runners, so that's why we go out and run. How many of them runners do you think, and it'd be great if you get your view on this, that they're going out again because they don't want to lose their fitness, that they're worried that those 4 weeks you just spoke about, you haven't done that much running, you're thinking, I've worked so hard to get my fitness up here, and now I really, really don't want it to drop off. What sort of effects that can have on your fitness those 4 weeks?
Nothing, because you're gonna come. Yeah, I mean, yes, sorry, it will. But firstly, like I said, you're going to absorb the training that you did for your marathon training block. You've then got to recover. So if you're training, you're not gaining anything because you're still knackered. So training when you're tired, you're not making that many gains. Yeah, like your body's still healing. So the long-term improvements that you're making in that period of time are like marginal, if at all. It's negative. Do you know what I mean? You've got to recover from it. But I understand the psychological aspects of it, that you've been doing all that mileage, then you're doing nothing. The first thing you're thinking is, I'm going to lose all this fitness. It's not a bad thing to lose a bit of fitness, because it will come back quicker and it will come back stronger. Yeah, you think if you've ever been out injured, right? It's horrible. But how quickly does that come back? It's surprising, isn't it? How quickly that natural fitness that you had before that injury kicks in. The physio is the first one to tell you, don't worry, it will kick in, because you've got it there. It's true, right? You think about it with your back, Hayden. Yeah. It's true, isn't it? So yeah, you will lose. What you end up losing, you lose that sort of sharpness, that condition at the top end. But actually, that's not a bad thing, because then when you lose that and then you try and gain that back, the gains you make are bigger, because you've let your body heal, you let your body recover, you've absorbed that training. So those gains that you're going to be stronger so those gains are bigger. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But as you said, it's just getting into that psychological state where you're white. It's a bit like the taper, like, and you're murdered for it. You're the worst.
That's why I said to you, it's the reverse of the taper. That's why I said to you, it is the reverse of the taper. It's exactly the same psychological effects. It's the reverse of the taper. It's so uncharacteristic as a runner. You're doing the total opposite. So you're in a training plan, marathon training plan. I'm gonna say 16 weeks. You've been smashing it 13 weeks. Oh, and then I've got to come down. This don't feel right. Then your brain starts going nuts. You do your race. You feel absolutely blown out of the water for a week. Normal thing, yeah? But then after that, you're going, now what? I'm going to lose all this marathon fitness. I want to go and smash this, smash that. What am I going to do next? Brain's going mental. Same as the taper. But you're doing this. You're coming out. So the taper brings you down. Marathon, that. But you've got to have those to be able to, it's the wrong way around, but effectively peak down here. But you need to come back up to be able to get ready to do whatever you're going to do next. Yeah. And I say, whether that's that reset, whether it's to go after a 10K in the summer, or a half marathon maybe in early autumn, or whatever it is. But the gains you will make are greater if you respect this period of time, this recovery training plan that you're now in. Eat well. Drink well, not drink as in, I mean, hydrate, that sort of thing. It's key, mate. I'm telling you.
Oh, I've always said,
and you will make the biggest gains if you respect this period. Your race may not have gone your way, right? Whatever reason, it's too hot on the day, whatever. But if you respect what respect the distance in these first 3 to 4 weeks, and really let yourself recover from that and absorb all that training. Yes, you'll lose that top line, but when you do come back, it'll be a bigger gain because you've taken all that on board and then you can move forward. Yeah, that's the way to look at it. So don't be tempted to rush.
Yeah, I think you picked up on something there as well. I think a lot of it as well, trying to keep people almost in check, depends on what you just said, and that's the factor of how your race went. I think if your race went really well, I think you're quite happy to rest up because the taper worked, it all went well, everything's right. I've got to follow the plan, follow what the professionals say, it works. If your race didn't go well, how are you going to pull yourself out of that thinking, I've listened to everyone's advice for 3 weeks, I didn't really do much running, and I had a terrible race, it went bad. So why am I just like sitting around now not doing much, only doing, I want to get back out there, I want to train hard, I know what I'm doing. How do you convince that person that that's not the right thing? It's
really hard, mate. And I again, that's always the side of things where I think as a coach, why I'm playing my own smoke, why I do so well, because I understand that psyche, because I've been there. As always, you've just got to trust the process. You've just got to trust the process, but you have to respect the distance. I know we're normalizing marathons very much on social media, but it's a hell of a long way. Yeah. And it's really hard, and it takes a massive toll on your body, more than you probably think. And you might have had to, I don't know, walk half of it because the wheels came off or whatever, but it's still a marathon. Yeah, you still trained hard for 16 weeks. You've got to let that catch up with you and be absorbed. Otherwise, you're just on that hamster. Yeah, and at some point you're going to come out of it, and you're going to be injured. And it might not be the injury like within the first 4 weeks. It might actually be you start a training plan, a half marathon training plan, and you've got a bit of a dodgy ITB band, or you know what I mean? And it could be because you never recovered properly from that marathon, and it starts triggering that off. That's the sort of things, common things. You see it a lot. All my knees are starting to work, never had that through my marathon training book. Well, did you recover from that marathon training book? Well, it's classic, isn't it? Oh, I started smashing the life out of the gym. Okay, maybe you put too much load on. That's the thing, isn't it? You put, it's like he's going to hammer me, but like Ben, yeah. If you think about it, no. But he did a couple of marathons when they'd done Snowdon, rightly or wrongly, whatever. Fair play for him to do it. He wanted to do it, but he put a big load for his body, and he didn't let himself recover. He's straight back in the gym, smashing the life out of the gym, because that's what he thought was all right. He thought he could absorb it. He's ended up getting injured. We all learn from that. Yeah, we're all humans. We all make mistakes. Okay. And if you don't take guidance, which is, again, totally normal as well, because you think you're bulletproof because you're seeing these times coming down and all that sort of stuff, then you just carry on. It's human nature. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, I was the same. I tore my calf muscle. I didn't respect it. I was the same. I'm hammering Ben, but I could hammer quite easily myself because I was the one who tore my calf muscle because I didn't respect it. I was out there coaching, showing people, stand up, you tip-top, try this, blah, 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 showing them A skips, B skips, all this sort of stuff. 2 days after doing a marathon, what am I doing? Or actually a week after, but whatever it was. But do you know what I mean? It's like, and that's the sort of thing. We think we're bulletproof. You might ride your luck for a bit, but at some point it will catch up with you. So respect the distance. So
this next sort of like, question, a bit of advice. We're talking about post-marathon here, and this sort of links to that quite well. How important is it for you, and how much do you tell your clients, or how much do you work with your clients sort of post-marathon on the evaluation period of your marathon just gone by, the race itself and the training block up to it? Is it something important you should do, or should you just think, that's done my job, let's move on to the next one?
We was talking about this. One client of mine, it didn't go to plan in Manchester. I'm always, the first one to be transparent. You can hear about all these great successes we had, but you learn from the ones that don't necessarily go well. And he was like, absolutely, I'd have put my house on the fact he would have run close to 3 hours in Manchester. Didn't go to plan, went totally tits up, right? And we literally went through the whole training plan, and it's funny, he came to the same conclusion as me, and that's the brilliant thing working one-to-one and shows you on the same wavelength. Long story short, I think I got his taper wrong. We was trying something different, all right? And we were actually working Manchester wasn't our goal. Chicago later in the year is his goal. But we tried something, and I actually think I got it wrong in the taper. And some of it was guided by him, yeah. But ultimately, I'm the coach, and that's my responsibility. I took on board what he said, and I think I know I got it wrong. I think because the result was basically he went there, and I think he was a bit leggy. I think we needed him to be a bit fresher. But we've learned from that. Yeah, we're all going to make mistakes, both runners and coaches. So we've learned from that, and we've put that into play, and we've made sure that for Chicago we're going to do something different. And that's the key to that point so that you go through it and you evaluate it. Yeah, you don't hang on. I don't let my runners hang on to those. I let them, like he sat in that shit for basically a couple of days, like we all would. And then I made sure he told me he was out of it. He actually told me when he was on the finish line at London giving out, but he got out. What did he give my bag? I can't remember. No, he was on another bus, but he was giving out bags, and I saw him, and we was just chatting about it. And I said, "Oh, you're all right now. You over it?" And he went, "Yep, I'm all right now." And then you can then move on, but because there's no point looking back on it in a bad way. You look or positive way. You look at it. What went well? What went bad? What did we do good? What did we do bad? What can we take into the next block? Whether that's half marathon, 10K, 5K, whatever it is, you do that evaluation and then you take that into the next, whatever you're going to be doing next. Say for us, it was a great learning curve in terms of his taper. That we got it wrong, but that means that we can now get it right for Chicago, which is the most important thing because that's his A race. So yeah, no, to answer your question, yeah, it's really important to do evaluation, but don't get hung up on it. Take the positives and take the negatives and try and spin them both into ways that you can improve going forward. 100%. And I suppose that's probably the hardest thing, isn't it? If you're on like a runner app or like a Cooper app or whatever, I suppose that's probably the hardest thing, isn't it? If you're training solo, is that how do you do that? How do you? Because you probably sit there, go, I don't know, maybe you got cramps at 15 miles or whatever. I got no idea. You got no one really to sort of like figure that out with, I suppose. And that's the hard thing, isn't it? Is like how do you then improve on your next one?
You listen to podcasts like this?
You do listen to podcasts like this, yeah, and you seek out advice from hopefully people that know what they're talking about. But it must be, I'm saying, in just a general statement, it must be quite hard because I think that's probably one for an uncensored episode that we do. But like, how do people cope with that side of things? Do they continually make the same mistakes? Because that's the other thing, is that you continually see people making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Because they don't take stock, they don't learn because they don't know what they're doing. And who does, unless you've got like bags of money and can pay for a coach, right? It's like, how do you learn from it? It's really hard to be self-critical as well and say to yourself, well, actually, I probably did go out too fast. And actually, I put all the wrong information into Runner. And I was the one who told it that I could run sub 3 when I've never run a marathon and I've never trained near that. That's on you, isn't it? But you've got to have it's really hard to be that self-critical, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of time you only evaluate yourself on your time. You
base it on time.
I will go for a sub 4 marathon. I run 4:10. You come home thinking, oh, everything was crap about the block and everything, which probably. No. And again, if you do run 3:55, you might come out and think that was amazing. Where it might not have been. You might be able to run 3:40.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is the other thing is as well. I don't base my clients' results on time. Yeah. How did you feel after it? How quickly did you recover? Yeah. How close to you in terms of strategy were you? Did you ignore everything and just go out like an idiot? And how did you get on with that? Okay, fine. Because again, we all do it. Yeah. We all feel great and we go for it. But actually, you messed the strategy up. That's fine. We can learn from that. You've got to be honest and you've got to say to us, you didn't get that right, but let's change it. As you say, it's really hard to be self-critical when you're basing it around time because there's so many. The marathon is a funny old distance. There's so many factors. Heat, having to fill a cup up in Paris, like you know what I mean. They all had time, didn't they? And if you're basing it on time, you may have got stomach cramps, needed to jump into the Portaloo. Is that actually an output of your training plan? No. That's just something you've had gut distress on the day. It's got nothing to do with in terms of your physical training. Yeah, you may be with regards to did you train properly in terms of fueling and stuff like that. But physically, that's not a byproduct of your training in terms of what you was doing, mileage and stuff like that, right? So again, do you take that into account? Well, probably not. So you but you took 3 minutes in the Portaloo, and that's added to your time. So you was 4:03 instead of like 4. But like, is that got anything to do with your training? No, you killed your training plan. But you're only going to be thinking about, I didn't do sub 4.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've just got 2 quick questions here that would be great to get them answered before we move on. What sort of signs am I looking out for that I need even more recovery than sort of like the stuff you suggested? Like how much I'll be feeling, etc.
It's purely comes down to sort of your muscles, your nervous system, that sort of stuff. Are they still recovering? Do you still feel a little bit leggy than you probably should do? That's the thing. I think by now because you've been through that training block. You know yourself. Are you trying bit harder than you should be? Everything you're doing should be pretty effortless. Okay, you're coming back from a marathon, right? So there's going to be fatigue. But everything you're doing at the moment in those first 4 weeks shouldn't really, other than those, as I say, that moderate session that you may stick in week 3, everything should feel pretty effortless. Yeah, even in the gym, you shouldn't be having any DOMs, for example, right? You know, that's the way. So that's what to look for, is if you're getting a bit of muscle soreness, that sort of stuff, they're key signs. Just to make sure, look after yourself a little bit. You know, might have to extend this 4 weeks to 5 weeks. Again, it's a marathon, could take 6 to 8 weeks to get over.
I think you've given away a few clues, and this answer is going to be pretty straightforward for you. I know it is, but let's end up with, give us, what is the biggest post-marathon mistake that people make? Oh, that's good. So you didn't go straight in with the easy option. And you haven't. You're thinking about it. I like this.
I think I'm going to go with two things, actually, because of what we've spoken about. Mm-hmm. The obvious one is to train too hard, again, too quickly, come back too fast, all that sort of stuff. Ignore all the 4-week stuff I just told you about. That's the simple answer that you're talking about. But I think in the sort of times that we live in, I think actually is to be comparing yourself to what other people are doing, and to be comparing and again, I'm kind of anti-Strava in that respect, kind of comparing what everybody's doing. Oh, he ran London and he's back doing 20 miles this week. I should be back doing 20 miles. I didn't run the time that I needed. So, you know, that guy ran the time I needed. So I'm going to go and do what he's doing. That kind of thing, comparing yourself to others, can really seep in, and following what other people are doing, you can be guided wrong. You don't know what they're doing, yeah, but you're seeing it on Strava and you're following it, or you're seeing them on TikTok and you're following it. And it's, yeah, I think that's a dangerous path. I think that's probably the curveball answer.
That's
and it's probably it's probably the right answer if I'm honest. I think that's where people make a lot of mistakes, and that's where they basically end up getting injured and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And then as I said, all they're doing is just, you know, going to a physio, and the physio loves it because that's good for them, right? They're getting paid for it, so crack on, sort of thing. Right, that's enough of becoming a better runner. We hope you enjoyed it. I might put this version out actually earlier because I think this is more relevant. And get this feedback because I think it's quite a lot. So, you tell me, was it useful, do you think, for people in terms of coming back from the marathon, do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. He got some great tips and stuff there. As you said, we still got a few marathons around. I think Edinburgh's coming up. So
yeah, Copenhagen's this weekend. So there's a lot of stuff coming. So yeah, I think we'll put this out earlier. I think it's interesting. If you've got any questions, got any comments, if you want some help with your coaching, drop me an email, hello@fordyruns.com. Don't forget, training plans are on fordyruns.com right now. If you're looking for something to do after a marathon, we've got a speed training plan, 6-week training plan. Once you've got over those 4 weeks, it's free. There's some half marathon plans on there. There are 5 that you don't have to commit to, like Runner or Cooper or something like that longer term. you can just pick them up and crack on with them if you want. There's some 5K, 10K stuff on there. So they're over at FORDYRUNS.com under the training plans. But check them out. Okay, big boy, thanks for joining me on Becoming a Better Runner. As always, we shall see you next week. We've got no idea what it's going to be, but we shall see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.